What is up, Notre Dame fans? Welcome into the Notre Dame football show from blueandgold.com. I am Ashton Pollard here, as always, with my co-hosts Mike Singer and Tim Hyde. And we just wrapped up the last practice that we could watch as the media. So we have a lot to talk through today on that front, as well as some recruiting stuff. And make sure that you hit the thumbs up if you are watching this on YouTube right now. Subscribe to our channel, all that good stuff. Obviously, if you're listening back via podcast, leave us a review on wherever you get those podcasts. But I will start. How are you guys? Mike, what's up?
I'm good. Yeah, I make the show outline. So Ashton, I'm sorry. I'm the recruiting guy, so it's kind of recruiting heavy. But hopefully we spend a good time talking about fall camp and everything. Because definitely, it's busy in recruiting right now, and definitely for fall camp.
Yeah, for sure. No, I opened with fall camp because I literally was at fall camp like 30 minutes ago. So that's what's on my mind right now. Tim, how are you?
Oh, doing really good. Really good. Very excited. Just one more day closer.
9 days. Well,
the nerves.
Yeah.
Excited.
I was going to say on the topic of that, we were walking the way that practice is structured when we can only watch the first 5 periods is in between. There's like an hour-ish. So Tyler Horka, Patrick Engel, and myself, we usually walk to the library to work. And when we walked back, we walked down like in front of the stadium and back over to the IAC. And they have the Ohio State flag flying, which is a sign that a game is coming up, which is exciting. And Tyler tweeted that. So if you want that picture, you want to see that picture, that's on Twitter. But we will start with how we normally start. Mike, what are you drinking tonight?
First, I'm so close. Oh, nope, that's not it. There it is. There's the.
Oh, there you go. Sorry. I improv'd on that, so I did not prepare you all for that. But yes, there you go. There it is. Tyler had to brighten that photo. It's a little dreary today, which is even more football-esque, I guess. So I liked it. But when Tyler originally took it, he was like, yeah, we're going to have to brighten that one to even see the flag. So, yes. Okay. Mike, what are you drinking?
Can we skip me? Nothing good. Nothing.
Tim, what are you drinking?
It's tasty, but I'm not proud of it.
Tasty. Always a beer when we're talking Notre Dame football. So cheers.
Wait, hold on. Well, yes. So cheers. I'm drinking a vodka soda. I did not smash any fruit in it. But Mike, now I need to know what you're drinking.
I just grabbed the Bud Light seltzer thing. This one is strawberry daiquiri. I'm going to text my wife and ask her to bring me some whiskey.
You can drink. There's nothing wrong with seltzers. They're good.
Yeah, like seltzers, but a strawberry daiquiri.
I don't know. It's 2022, Mike.
Make fun of me, Tim. I deserve
No, I'm not going to make fun of you. I was going to stick up for you because I know you and Goolsby, and you had one on with Mike, and I was at a barbecue just a couple weeks ago. It was 100 degrees. There was a cooler. There was a ton of Bud Light seltzers, all the little the margaritas, the fruit punches. They're not too bad. So I will stick up for you.
There you go.
Not too bad.
Yes, Mike just popped up on the screen there. Drop a super chat if you want a question answered right away. But yeah, we'll go into our second segment that we always start our show with. So the best thing that we saw this week, I'm laughing at Dominic's comment.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, kind of.
It says Mike is into lady drinks, which maybe, but anyways, yeah, okay. Now I'm all distracted. Yeah, so best thing we saw this week, it's anything that has to do with Notre Dame. It doesn't have to be football. Often it is, but we can start. Tim, I'll start with you. What was the best thing you saw this week? Really?
Just without a doubt. We're talking about the game, the football. We're so close. And then this bad boy pops into my mailbox the other day. So the Blue and Gold Illustrated, the preseason issue, and Tyler Buckner made the cover, which is nice after finally many months. So QB1 is on the cover. And the best part for all the fans, if you don't get it, subscribe to Blue and Gold. You got to go to page 45 and look at these beautiful score predictions from the Blue and Gold staff. So, hey, that's always the first thing I do. I always go to score predictions. Well, that's always the second thing. And you always got to go to the back and see what the great loose emoji had to write. So you guys always put in great stuff from him. So that's always my favorite go-to thing. But very exciting when you get the preview issue.
Interesting picks.
Interesting picks.
Oh, mine's on my coffee table.
All I gotta say is I have Notre Dame covering.
Yes, you do.
I do too. If the spread, I think the spread's up to, is it up to 17 and a half?
17?
It jumped up with the Patterson news of him might not being able to play, which we can get into that when we get into our stuff. But I haven't seen it. I've seen it between 14.
I got it. I'll pull it up.
There you go.
All right. Well, while Mike pulls that up, I guess I can go. Well, mine requires Mike to pull something up too. We can just
17 points. Seriously?
Tim was slandering my pick. I said 38-24 in favor of
this odd shark. So
okay, so it's 15.5.
Yeah, I don't see any 17.
All right, then it went back down. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I think Ohio State wins by 2 touchdowns, which in this case, Notre Dame would cover. So, all right, I can go next. And also, nice plug there, Tim. Yeah, make sure you subscribe, get the magazine. There's a lot of good stuff in there. But yeah, next. So the best thing that I saw this week has to do with fall camp. They're doing a lot of scout team stuff, which is good because we're seeing more reps and like actual football-esque plays as opposed to drills. And they mix in some starters when they're doing some of the scout team stuff too. So it was Isaiah Foskey and Joe Alt, neither of which is a member of any scout team. But this block I watched, they probably did it 4 or 5 times, and I got a couple videos, but this one was the best, so I threw it up on Twitter. But it's just 2 guys that are probably going to be first-round picks eventually, Foskey in April, and then Alt the following April, most likely. But yeah, it's so fun to watch these lines because they're 2 of the best in the country, and just watching them go against each other.
It's lagging a little bit. I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening, but
no, you're good. But yeah, I know Tim's a big fan of line play too, so that was also I tweeted that about Tim. So.
No, it's a great play. You got two great football players right there going at it, getting ready for practice. That's the thing, for all the fans out there. When you watch this game, I'm telling you, Ohio State's got 2 NFL offensive tackles. Notre Dame's got 2 NFL tackles, and then the D ends on both sides. Yeah. Mills, Foskey, Adamiola, and then the Buckeyes have a bunch as well. So that everyone talked about the skill guys and whatnot, the edges on the lines, the tackles end battle. I mean, it's going to be a film study afterwards for a film junkie. So it is going to be awesome football.
Yeah. No, for sure. Totally agree. All right, Mike, best thing that you saw this week, last but not least.
Permission to have 2?
Permission granted.
Blue and Gold Founders Club hat.
Oh, there you go. Nice. There you go. Yeah, make sure you claim that if you signed up. I believe it was February
2nd or 3rd.
Okay, yeah. If you signed up for blueandgold.com, you are eligible to get one of those hats. Mike, where exactly is the promotion link? It's on our board. I know that, which if you signed up, you would have access to our board. So yeah,
so it's pinned up there. So if you signed up for blueandgold.com,
so check out the board, make sure you claim that hat. And then
not much of a hat guy, but looks good on me.
Looks sharp.
Sure.
All right, number 2, and this just happened. It's what 8:06, or this tweet went out 8:06. It's 8:09. So CJ Carr, the little rushing touchdown. Let's turn that volume off because that's loud.
Oh wow, here we go.
So rolling a little bit right. Oh, coming back left. Taking off. Trying to pump fake when he's 5 yards past line of scrimmage. Defenders always bite on that. And a nice little touchdown run.
There we go.
Give us your analysis here, Tim, as it runs again.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I mean, this just looks like one of his highlight plays on his highlight film.
When he
turns around, but he throws the dart down the sidelines. And wow, first thing I thought about, that's a good looking run right there. Exciting. I know you're going to go see him coming up, Mike. So we're really looking forward to hearing your take on him after, his big sophomore year. And now he's a Notre Dame commit. What's he like live? That's going to be fun to break that down.
He was great at Irish Invasion, and now we get to see him in pads on. So definitely looking forward.
And he tore up the Elite 11 camps in the spring, but obviously wasn't eligible to go. But he beat all those rising seniors in a couple of the camps he went to. So that's awesome to hear about.
Yeah, no, I second that Irish Invasion. Mike and I were both there, and he just looked so smooth and just a step beyond the rest, I guess. All righty. We will move into our topics for today. Again, if you just hopped on, make sure you subscribe, hit the thumbs up, all that stuff. If you're listening back via podcast, obviously leave us a review. So we are going to start with some news that broke yesterday. Armel Mukam, I apologize, Armel, I might have butchered that, but he committed yesterday. He is out of Woodbury Forest, which is in Virginia. They were actually in my high school league, fun fact. But 3-star, Mike, I know you've watched a little bit more, Mike and Tim, a little bit more of his film than I have, so I won't comment on that aspect, but he is the 4th defensive line pledge Notre Dame has in their class after the decommitment of Keon Keeley, which we will also talk about in a minute. But yeah, I mean, if you look at his list, it's a lot of high academic schools. He was committed to Stanford, flipped. He had a UVA offer. You can see that on the screen. Notre Dame, Virginia, Cal, Stanford, all top-notch institutions with Power 5 football programs. So clearly a very smart kid, kind of your, I guess, quintessential Notre Dame kid that clearly cares about academics. So I will turn it over, Mike, since you wrote about him yesterday, and then Tim, we can talk about his film.
Okay, I do have a quick sidebar here. I got, after last week's show, after the Goolsby show, I had a lot of people emailing me about how to do a super chat. So this is, sorry for Ashton, your paused face there. But if you guys see this little $sign here on the chat, you click that. See, some people watch on TVs, phones. I don't know what all the difference in devices are, but this is only if you're live. You click this little $sign thing, and you can send us like 20 or like $2,000.
Yeah, you can send us several $1,000s, and we will answer one question.
In all seriousness, okay,
$1 for a year.
Yeah. Back on topic. Armel Mukam. I've been saying Mukam. I don't know if that's correct, but someone made the comments. Great Dumb and Dumber line. So you're saying there's a chance, and I know Tim was going to comment on this, so I might as well just go ahead and do that. The recruiting prediction machine had Notre Dame at less than 1% chance to land him. And to that, I would say, I mean, what else was it going to say? The data On3 didn't know that he had an offer until he literally announced his commitment from Notre Dame. So I don't know what else is going to say. It's like this recruitment went from 0 to 100. When he committed, none of us would have known that this was coming, like unless we were tipped off, because he didn't tweet out he had an offer. It was really just kind of an out of the blue thing. Notre Dame start recruiting him until about 4 weeks ago. I got my first chance to talk to him maybe 2 hours before he announced, 3 hours before he announced his commitment, and had a story up at blueandgold.com, which you could check out. A fantastic young man, great family. His parents are both from Africa. They migrated to Canada. I want to say Montreal. That's where he grew up, played hockey. His high school coach in Canada was like, you need to come play football. And Armel was not interested and just kept texting him, kept beating down his door to say, hey, come play football. And Armel said, okay, I'll come practice and show you that I don't really like this, but I'm going to give it a try. And of course, he fell in love with playing the game and decided I want to move to the States and attend a strong, prestigious academic school and strong football, which he got in Woodbury Forest, which is about 2 hours southwest of DC, I want to say. Ashton, so Ashton,
I mean, Virginia, probably an hour and a half to 2 hours. Yeah, somewhere in that.
Yeah.
It's like in between the like Richmond, Charlottesville, DC triangle.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this young man hasn't been to campus. He hasn't met the coaching staff in person, but he told me that he grew up wanting to play hockey for Notre Dame, and it's just been a big of his. And then, I guess he still can. Two-sport athlete, hockey and football. How about that? So 1 year of American football he's played. So kind of one of these, high ceiling players. And with that, I'll throw it over to Tim Hyde. Tell us what you see on his tape.
Tell you what, he's the tallest 6'3" kid I've ever seen. I mean, he looks tall on film. That was the first thing that popped out, because usually when someone's listed 6'3", they're 6'2", and he's everything 6'3" plus. He is tall, long, definitely raw in that, he stands up like crazy on the snap a lot, but that's the guy's played football a couple of years. Look at that stance though. His stance is low, explosive. He's ready to go. So that there is awesome that he is a great knee bender already to get into a really good football stance. He's people have been talking about, oh, is this for Keeley? He is nowhere near a Viper. This guy is going to be 275, 280 pounds. He's going to be another probably Adamiola. I mean, he's a guy who could probably play N3 tech once he gets some strength and whatnot. Obviously, Adamiola was a top 100 football player, but I'm just saying comparable with size. I liked him. I mean, Mike, you told me, hey, watch this guy's film. Tell me what you think. And I was like, whoa, where does this guy come from? And then once you learn his background and whatnot, and you look at his rankings and everything, and it starts to make sense. He hasn't been in the United States. He hasn't been to 1,000 camps and all these things, but look at the effort. The guy his film is a really good football film for a guy who's been playing, American football for a couple months, basically. So exciting and to see where he develops in the next couple of years once he gets into a Notre Dame weight room and they just going to train the living heck out of him to stay. I mean, look at the stance. I love that. I've said it multiple times, but I see him being a 5 tech, a guy who's going to play the C gap, or is he going to just grow into a really good D tackle, B gap, 4-eye, inside eye, the offensive tackle type of football player? But he's got pursuit. He plays with energy, and he has great motor. So a lot of positives. Redshirt him, feed him. Let's see what this guy does in the next 24 months. That's the way I look at him.
Yeah, he definitely looks taller than 6'3" for sure. Like if you were like, oh yeah, he's like 6'5", I would totally believe you. He looks huge. Yeah, Mike, any final comments on him before we kind of dive into the bigger picture defensive line stuff?
Yeah, Tim made the comment of this isn't a replacement for Keeley. It's not. So
Yes.
This is kind of premium information for the website, but I love my YouTube folks and podcasts, so I'll throw you a little nugget here. No, so Notre Dame was aiming for 4 commitments in this class on the defensive line. It was like maybe 5, but maybe that 5th is a transfer. Let's just kind of see this thing out with getting a 5th. Well, Keeley decommits, and essentially Notre Dame's wanting to, from just what I'm told from sources and whatnot, Notre Dame is saying, okay, Keeley's out. Let's replace him with like 2 defensive linemen. So get an extra edge player, strong side edge, I should say, slash a 3 tech. So Tim kind of talked about that. He can either play 5 or 3. And then with this 5th defensive line spot, because Mukum is the number 4, it's going to be a Viper. All the guys that they have committed right now are kind of, oh, he's a 5 or a 3, or he's a 3 or a 1, the 1 being the nose tackle. So with the this kind of 5th spot, it's going to be, I think they're going to kind of take a flyer on somebody and see what kind of player they can go find that blows up as a senior.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I mean, just go out there and take your time. They got him. He's a good developmental guy. It's funny. I was going over all the 3 stars that I just went over the Brian Kelly era, and and his ranking, believe it or not, is he falls somewhere between Jonathan Bonner, who ended up playing a ton for Notre Dame his last 2 years, and Ade, who was a 5th round draft choice, and he was a Western Michigan decommit, don't forget. So this guy is decommitting from Stanford. So, that's the other thing. His offers are not MAC, Sunbelts, they're not taking somewhere like that. He was going to go play Stanford, who I think David Shaw's one heck of a football coach and develops guys at, premier. He's a really good football coach. He's going to go play in the ACC. He's going to play in the ACC and play against Notre Dame. So, it's a great pickup. Is it, elite? Is it flashy and stuff like that? No. Well, we'll see this guy in 2 years and see what he does. He could be like another Jason Anye, who's been slowly developing, maybe play a little bit this year, but definitely going to be in the role next year in 2023, which is his junior year, which Armel could be the same type of thing once 2025 comes around.
On that topic, Jason Anye looked really, really good. The coaches are very high on him. So my I don't have concern. Like, I don't have concerns about development on the defensive line, I guess. Like, if Notre Dame, and again, I'm not a film guru, I'm not going to act like I am, but if Notre Dame thinks that they can make this kid into a formidable football player for the team, then I'm all for it. I don't know. They have a good track record with that. I know that obviously Mike Elston's gone, but I mean, same like kind of foundation sort of thing. And obviously Marcus Freeman's at the helm and he's defensive minded. So
real quick, Ashton, talking about development. People, I know Elston obviously was there for 12 years, but let's don't forget about Al Washington. He started as a D-line coach at BC.
Yeah.
He developed a couple All-Americans, Harold Landry, who's in the NFL now, led the NCAA in sacks. So, he has developed D linemen. I know he's, Buckeyes, linebackers, obviously with when he was with Michigan. So, but going back, he has a track record of developing these guys because BC doesn't get the high-end guys. And he developed the heck out of him. Heck, he was one at BC and went undefeated against Notre Dame, as he's mentioned many times.
It's a good point.
Got to mention the super chat. Rick, thank you. And I asked Rick, hey, you got a question? And he says, no, I just wanted to contribute because I listen all the time. So cheers to you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. All right. Kind of a good segue, obviously, into our next topic, which is kind of a bigger picture defensive line question with the 2023 class. So I can just kind of pose it to Tim. Tim, do you still think that this defensive line class can be elite even with the loss of Keon Keeley?
Well, I mean, Keeley's you look at 2023 and some of the guys are losing. Keeley's a guy that could come in and play right away. So the guys that they have, who's going to come in and compete right away? That's, at Viper, none of these guys, they're all ends, 3 techs, those types of bodies. Boubacar is a guy who needs to develop, good football player, but I don't see him being a 2023 guy. Vernon, by the way, if you have not seen his first film, his game last week,
is it on Huddle?
I don't know if it's on Huddle. I found it. There were some links on Twitter, just highlights on the Ohio recruiting page. Whoa, that guy is a man. I know he is not a social media guy. He's out there, didn't go to a billion camps. I'll tell you what, if that dude's not a top 50 football player, when you just watch film, and so, that his film last week he's a freak show. He's playing as a freshman somewhere. So elite with him. Boubacar obviously is outstanding. And you got big Devin Houston, who's just a tank. He's going to be a big, big body inside. But going back to Mike's point, for that Viper spot, there's a bunch of top 100 guys that they've reached out to, they chatted with. Is there someone else that has committed that, Notre Dame's been in contacts with? They need to go out there and sell this. Hey, we need bodies at Viper. They just do. They're going to lose Adamiola. They're going to lose Foskey. Someone mentioned today on the message board, well, they could come back if they want. Come on. Why would Adamiola come back for a 6th year? That's crazy.
No.
He's playing.
Foskey's going to be a 1st-round pick. Foskey's not coming back.
Yeah. Foskey's not coming back. No, exactly. And Adamiola rotates. He basically plays starter minutes, so there's no need for him to come back. So that's the whole reason why they moved Josh Burnham, Gobira. Botella's been repping a ton at Viper. So, but they definitely need some type of a freshman, unless they got some ties to a transfer that could come in January. But that's my quick take on the 2023 D line. They need a Viper. They need a guy that could come in and play as a freshman.
So you kind of touched on that, but we have this super chat here about, is a Viper necessary, advantages, disadvantages? Obviously, the advantage would be that you're losing a lot of guys that have that skill set. I guess, I don't know, is Milton fan, are you asking what are the disadvantages of taking a Viper or having a
schematic? Is this like a schematic question?
Yeah, the Viper, when you hear the term Viper, that's been the term. It's basically the weekend, the rush end, their boundary end, when they do their nickel and things like that. That's what Foskey, Foskey's in the boundary more often than not, but basically the Viper, just think of it as it's your rush end. That's your 3rd down specialist. So when you hear that term Viper, just think pass rush guy. That's what Notre Dame needs, is a pass rusher.
What would be, I guess, maybe to go off of Milton fan's question, like what would be the disadvantage of taking that over maybe someone else? If I understand the question correctly. Advantages and disadvantages of having one. Okay. So what is a disadvantage, I guess?
Well, there is no disadvantage. You have to have a pass rusher. Exactly. Unless Notre Dame is going to just turn into a true 3-3, a true 50, which they run before, where they would blitz, Darius Fleming one side, Shembo on the other, during the Bob Diaco days in the 50D, when they would bring a Sam or the weak side guy and take coverages in that. Notre Dame's, really not that type of a team. They've been a true, you're our Viper, especially with the Okwara brothers, you're our guys. And it's just gone from there where that, especially since Mike Elko took over, where they made that Viper, that weak side end, they're true pass rush specialist.
Fair enough. Mike, any comments on the class sans Keon Keeley?
I mean, it's the number 5 class right now per the On3 consensus, which I think a couple of the other sites probably have Notre Dame like 3 based on their formulas, but On3 is more like this is how it would project like out. Like I think Texas A&M or Texas Tech had like 20 commitments when everyone else had 6, so they had the number 1 class on Rivals, but like that's not a good way to represent what it's going to be at the end. So on 3, I think they were in the 20s. So it's just kind of a side note. But I think I've said 4 to 7 was kind of, or 3 to 7. It's kind of like for the past few months, that's what I've thought. So I'm still kind of in that, probably closer to 4 or 5. Losing Keeley, the number 10 overall player in the country, that obviously stings. When you don't get a player like Dante Moore, that obviously stings. But I logged a new prediction tonight. Nobody's asking about it. Drop a super chat and maybe we'll get to it because it's not on our schedule today or our outline. So to get him, if they get still get like a 4-star quarterback or something, like I still think that top 5 is very, very realistic.
Yeah, I would agree. I think 4.
I was going to say, and on that note, Mike, I'm sorry. When I was answering the question, I was just talking D-line, but you're looking at the overall class. I mean, right now they're 91% blue chip. I love that blue chip motto because especially when you're stacking them, like last year's, they're 77% blue chip, which is elite when you look at that article, Ashton, that we did a video on and all that stuff. So 77%, 90% this year. I'm a big believer in 2024 is going to be really, really good. So now all of a sudden you got 3 straight classes, which Brian Kelly never did, of just elite, one after another. So when you say the term elite, if you're at 90% blue chips where all your dudes are basically 4 stars, that's a darn good class. Sure, you missed out on some guys. No doubt about they missed out on some guys, but they also got some dudes they probably would not have gotten in the past. I truly believe with some of these DBs and some of these other guys, especially the wide receivers. The wide receivers are all just bottlenecked. And speaking of that real quick, Rico Flores, look at some of his first game last week. He just
ridiculous.
So they got 3 legit wide receivers coming in, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. And to your point, they're like several of them have said, I would not consider Notre Dame if not for Marcus Freeman being the head coach. So that's not like an under the radar, like we think that's like they've said it. And obviously that's taking their word for it, but they're coming out and they're full blown saying it. So, all right. Our next segment, we have a special interview that Mike did with Mike Brown, a former Notre Dame Leprechaun. Mike, I can let you introduce him a little bit more because you conducted the interview. So I'll pass it over to you.
It's awesome. Really cool interview. It's about 10 minutes long. So hang out, watch this video interview or listen to on podcast. And then we got some more discussion to end the show. So here we go. Notre Dame fans, go ahead and bring in Mike Brown, an awesome special guest that we have for this week's show. So former Notre Dame Leprechaun, in the Bob Davie era, early, the first year of the Mike Bray era for the Notre Dame's men's basketball team. So 2-year Leprechaun for the Fighting Irish. So Mike, we'll just toss you a little softball for something I'm sure you get asked all the time. What was it like being that Notre Dame Leprechaun?
So first, Mike, thanks for having me on the show. And I will tell you, it was an unbelievable experience. I tell people it's even more fun than it looks, if you will. So number one, you're representing a great university, a lot of great programs, but the best fan base, all right, that's fully supportive of everything you're doing. And it's easy to get a crowd excited when they're already passionate and in love with the place. And so I just try to do my part to add to that excitement and bring the energy and excitement further to life. that experience. So it was a blast.
Is there anything that like people might not expect in that role? I mean, you did it for 2 years. You know it like the back of your hand at this point, obviously. Maybe if there's something a lot more difficult about the job than people might realize.
Yeah, so I'd say the three things that I would say are probably a little different than people may think. Number one, the days are very long, right? So that's something that people think, oh, you just do the games, but you're also doing a number of pep rallies and different appearances around campus and in the community on not just game days, but throughout the week. And so that's one thing that I think is a bit different. The second thing is a lot of leprechauns actually can do stunts and do a lot of gymnastics as well. So I wasn't one of them, but there's a lot of people who are just very athletic. So they do a lot more things than what I did. Was I just ran around and acted crazy. But there's a lot of just people who served in the role who had a lot more talent and did a lot more things that were just beyond leading cheers. And so those are a couple of things I think are a bit different. But yeah, the hospital visits, the school visits, reading the children. I mean, those are all things that were part of the role as well. That extended the time beyond what you may see on TV.
So you were the first Black leprechaun for Notre Dame. That's got to be something you're pretty proud of. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So I'm proud of it. Yes, I didn't necessarily set out to do that. One of the things as I approached the position, my roommates from Notre Dame, because I didn't grow up a Notre Dame fan. I didn't grow up having dreams of attending Notre Dame. But I came in with just a spirit and a passion toward being part of the Notre Dame family. And my roommates noticed that. And so they're the ones who convinced me to try out. And so, but when I did it, I really didn't have much of an expectation to win. It was more, I'm going to go out there, have a good time, do my best. And then when I was named the leprechaun, and not just the leprechaun, but I was named at the time they called it varsity. I was like, oh my God, it's like the football. Like I did football and men's basketball. I was like, oh my God, like this is happening. And it was just, I really, honestly, I was proud of that, but I tried to just make it my own, right? I tried not to be like another leprechaun. I tried to just be my own person. I feel like I stayed true to who I was while I was representing the university and I was an ambassador for it. I stayed true to my upbringing and my own culture. I did some things that were new. I invented some new cheers that I brought to the table. We added some dancing to the mix, a little bit more dancing into the mix. There's some things that just were part of who I am. And so I didn't hold those things back. And so I feel like that was more of how my background was more infused into the position just by doing me.
So this kind of leads us into the current, what Mike Brown is kind of doing with his, his history as a Notre Dame leprechaun. Children's book. You've partnered with Blue and Gold, so we can really tell people about this. It's pretty sweet. So tell us about the book. I'll pop on this little graphic here. Tell us about the book, and how people can go ahead and pre-order.
Sure. So the book, yes, so it's Leprechauns Game Day at Notre Dame. I just talked about part of the game day experience, and so this book really does capture, we believe, the magic of a Notre Dame football Saturday. And so it goes through my own personal experience serving as a leprechaun. I'm talking about waking up in my dorm. I lived in O'Neill Hall. I'm talking about going to the grotto in the morning. That scene right there is from the step off that takes place in front of the Golden Dome. And we got the Irish Guard in there. We capture the spirit of the band that's captured in the book. And it really just highlights and brings to life that entire experience on a game day at Notre Dame. So we really focused on, we wanted all the pages and the images on the pages to really jump out at you and capture what that experience is really like. We use a lot of vivid images that were very vibrant type of colors and everything to really capture that spirit and magic.
Mike, I feel like you can't put a price on this book. I mean, this could be something that's passed down for generations, right? I mean, I buy it and read it to all my kids and give it to one of my kids. They read it to their kid. I mean, like this is, if you want your kid to grow up a Notre Dame fan, isn't this it?
This is it. It's funny you say that because we were talking about how a lot of our kids, like I have a daughter who's 5, and I'm pouring all the Indy Kool-Aid in them. So this is definitely something that'll fill the cups of many future Indy fans' cups. It's full of. I think it's something that will not just it'll be passed on to our children, our nieces, nephews, grandchildren, but it's something when you think about a school that's built around tradition. This is something that I think will be part of that tradition. It's a book that I think will be timeless in terms of not just capturing a particular season or a particular year, but I think it brings in a lot of people's experiences who may have gone here back in the 60s, in the 70s, the 80s, and even 2022 grads, if you will. So I think it's something that a lot of children, but also adults will enjoy as well. I think it'll conjure a lot of great memories from their experience on campus.
So, folks, you can go to Soulstir, that is SOULSTIR.co. Head to the site, you go to the shop page, and you can even donate a copy. So if you want to buy a copy yourself and donate, you can do that as well. And pre-order now, and the release is for this fall, right, Mike?
It's for this fall, and real-time update is that we're expecting to get the books in early September, and so we should be having those shipped by, I'd say, late September. So that's what we're aiming for now. So just in time for these first few home games here.
And I believe I am pulling it up, a message. It is BG22. So if you use the promo code, I'll put on the screen, BG22.
Yep.
Yours truly, not me, Mike, will sign a copy. So for Blue and Gold listeners and YouTube subscribers, if you purchase this book, again, soulstir.co, go to the shop page, punch in promo code BG22, and we get to see Mike Brown's signature.
I'll be signed. Yeah, it's going to be limited this year too. I had a first book come out, and I signed every book, and that was quite the journey. So now it's a more limited basis. So that promo code is important.
Mike, I hope that we wear you out with the amount of business.
I hope so too.
That's what I'm hoping. One more topic to discuss, Mike, your current role at Notre Dame. You know, people talk about 4 for 40, right?
Yeah.
In the recruiting for the Fighting Irish, you know, you come to Notre Dame for 4 years and it's great, but it's really going to benefit you for 40 years. Obviously, for you as a student, how has Notre Dame benefited you after graduating in 2001? And obviously, tell us about your current role with Notre Dame.
Sure. So my current role at Notre Dame is I serve as a regional director within our athletics advancement team. And so I focus on our fundraising efforts to generate funds to support initiatives. And I focus more specifically on our athletics initiatives. So when you think about grants and aid, which are how our student athletes are here and how they're funded from a scholarship perspective, all the different facilities that you see that support athletics initiatives, as well as all the things that wrap around the services that are offered to different students. So mental health, wellness, nutrition, so all those things as well, all kind of captured into things that I'm working to work with a lot of generous benefactors to support. But you're absolutely right. The reason I came back to Notre Dame to work as a full-time employee is because of that 4 for 40 commitment. When I came out of Notre Dame, so number one, I came in, I didn't know anyone, quite candidly. I didn't really know about the Notre Dame spirit, but the network that I built when I was there, the experience, the challenge that I had as being a student there in terms of just being challenged academically, looking into my own personal self and my own values and the discernment of who I am and what my purpose is on this life journey. Those are all things that were extremely valuable, and I took them with me. So I left Notre Dame after I graduated, worked in corporate America, what they call it, for 14 years. And then I came back about 7 years ago, and I came back to help further that mission, right? To pay it forward in terms of helping other students and student athletes get the same, or if not a better experience that I had when I was there, and how it really transformed my life, in hopes that it'll transform theirs as well.
Guys, listen. Who doesn't want to help support this guy? He literally came back to Notre Dame because he loved Notre Dame just too darn much. So again, soulstir.co. And I believe if you want the direct link, it's soulstir.co /LEP, LEP game day. We even have that little QR code up on the screen for YouTube audience as well. So Mike, I appreciate it. Hope you have a ton of success on this. And like I said earlier, hope many people punch in that BG22 promo code.
I've got my green pen ready to go.
All right. We appreciate your time, Mike.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Have a great season.
Pretty cool.
No, that was nice. That was really nice. I know I told you, Mike, my wife went to school with him. So she was, she's class of 02, but she knew Mike, really well and hung out with him a lot. He was really good friends with, two of her roommates at ND. So that's how she knew him.
I believe Mike's watching this or he's listening back or something. So yeah, small world there. Pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Marino. I said this when you did because I'm an idiot and didn't unmute myself, but that was a lot of Mike back and forth. Like, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike. No, but you can tell why he was the leprechaun. Very outgoing, fun to be around, all that stuff, and obviously came back to Notre Dame. So that's cool too. Yeah. Perfect. So make sure you plug in that promo code as Mike Singer advertised there at the end, and Mike Brown will sign it for you. All right, we can move into kind of our last segment, but it is a very large topic. We're going to talk fall camp. So as I said at the top of this show, it was the last day that the media could view fall camp today. It was practice number 17. We will get to talk to Tommy Reese and Al Golden on Saturday, but there's no practice availability for media. So we were there yesterday and today for the first 30 minutes. You can't see a ton during that, but you can kind of figure out who's injured, who looks good, who doesn't. Very baseline stuff. So I can start with the injury updates. Basically, Jarrett Patterson's kind of the big one, and I brought him up at the beginning of the show too. But he is still in a boot. FYI, it is a very large boot. It is up to his knee. So I'm not a doctor, but that does not necessarily look like someone that could play at Ohio State. He remains questionable. Maybe he does play. Again, I don't really know, but watching him in that boot, he was still in the pit today, so that was a little bit concerning, I guess I would say. Other than that, the only new addition to the pit today was Justin Walters, the backup safety. Not totally sure what was wrong with him, but he did, it was nothing serious for sure because he actually walked out of practice. Tyler and I were taping a video, which will be on YouTube probably tomorrow morning, and he walked out fine. So probably just tweaked something and they were being cautious. But again, don't quote me on that, but that was the only new addition. Other than that, I can turn it over to Tim. Tim, from what you've read, watched, seen, what are your initial fall camp takeaways now that we've seen everything that we can see?
Well, the big surprise for me is linebacker. It sounds like it's going to be Kaiser, Bertrand, and Bo Bauer, correct? So that's what all the reports have done. And, I know Tyler and Patrick have reported that a lot. So, what's up with Maris? Is he still dinged up from last year? Those types of things. So just seeing those three being solidified, I think is a surprise. I love the fact that Kevin Bauman has had a great camp and he's pretty much the number 2 tight end, which gives them a solid inline tight end to be able to flex, Michael Mayer out and things of that nature. So expect a lot of 12 personnel because, with the wide receiver issues. And then another biggie for me is, I've been talking about this for a year. Where, the class of 2021, what DBs are going to rise up eventually as sophomores? And it sounds like the 2 freshmen have passed most of them, in Benjamin Morrison, who was my sleeper of the class when me and Mike did our signing day show back in February. I thought Benjamin Morrison was the forgotten player in this class. So I love that guy. And then Jaden Mickey has been talked about since day one in January of, what he's been doing on campus. So those 2 freshmen passing Barnes and Riley and Tucker, from what it sounds like, and whether it's the nickel, the 2 deep, is a big surprise, exciting surprise, because it's, Mike Mickens obviously brought these guys in, and then you bring in Christian Gray and, oh my God, I can't even, Micah Bell, for next year. And you got 4 outstanding corners over a 2-year period. So, that was really exciting.
Yeah, I was going to say, on that topic, we talked to the corners today, and Benjamin Morrison, I did not get the chance to talk with him. Patrick and Tyler did, because how this is kind of arranged is they brought basically all of the room upstairs, and they all sit at different tables. So you kind of have to like pick and choose, move your resources around. And then Mike Mickens came up as well. So can't all be in the same place at the same time. They talked to Morrison. They said it was like one of the best interviews that they've ever done. He's super outgoing. You could talk to him forever. He apparently, and Tyler told me this, he apparently has 4 siblings. So he's one of 5, and all 5 have played or are playing Division I sports. So that's just an absolutely wild statistic. And I know that their dad played in the NFL. So like they have athletic genes, but still to get all 5 of them to that level is wild. But yeah, I mean, I'll say on that point, I spent a lot of my time today with Ryan Barnes, and he spoke very highly of the freshmen, both Mickey and Morrison, said that he loved Mickey's trash talk. Apparently he goes back and forth with Tommy Reese a little bit, which he said that he like dropped that in. And I was kind of like, wait a minute, tell me more about that. And he was like, no, it's like all in good fun, but it's hilarious that like he basically has like, he's fearless effectively. Like, he will trash talk anybody. He's very vocal, all that stuff, which you often don't get from a freshman. And then on the topic of Morrison, he was like, he's picked up everything super quickly. Obviously, he was not an early enrollee, so he came in June 10th-ish. That's about when they arrived. So a little over 2 months ago. Both have picked up a lot. In terms of like Barnes and Chance Tucker, who was also in his class, I think they're both very lengthy, which I don't necessarily know that, and Tim, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that Mickey and Morrison have that length that they do. Tucker came in as a wide receiver, if I'm not mistaken. But so I just think in general, like this cornerback group is very deep. They all have a lot of different skill sets, but they're also practicing all over the field. Like I asked Barnes, I was like, where are you primarily practicing? Like, cause they go like field boundary, left, right. There's a bunch of different terms. And Barnes was like, I play everything. Like we all play everything, because that's just kind of like Al Golden's outlook is you're not going to play a position. You're going to learn all of them. And then we're going to figure out where you fit best. But I mean, you're one play away from having to sub in for somebody at something that you've never done before. So, or in theory, if you weren't in this scheme, I guess you haven't done before. So Al Golden's very big on shuffling them around, doing a bunch of stuff. And Barnes had a confidence about him that obviously I don't really have a standard of comparison from last year, but I mean, he said he was ready to go. He led the team in tackles during the spring game, which I asked him about that and he kind of lit up, which was kind of cute. But yeah, so I think this cornerback group is in good shape. I know that was a bit of a question heading into the fall, but between like Hart, Lewis apparently has rebounded very nicely from that Fiesta Bowl performance. And then also Tariq Bracy, who's back for a 5th year too and playing a lot of nickel. I think there's a lot of bodies with a lot of skill sets, which bodes well for Notre Dame in the future, especially because those 2 freshmen are such bright, going to be very good players.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, well, and on top of that, if they are like solidifying themselves as true corners, going back to that length with, Barnes, and Riley. I mean, and Tucker, I remember when Mike and I, we did, the live post game right after the spring game. And I mentioned those guys, how I thought they stood out during the game. They showed athleticism, physicality in that game. They were really impressive to me in the spring game. So I wouldn't be surprised, because safety, once you lose, the 3 that are going to be leaving, Houston Griffith, DJ Brown, and Brandon Joseph, I know people talk about, Brandon Joseph, he doesn't need to come back for a 5th year. People forget he's been at Northwestern multiple years now. He redshirted there his 1st year. So if they can move Barnes, Riley to safety, start, because who knows if Xavier Watts stays full-time at wide receiver, correct? Because
well, yeah, I was going to say he actually practiced with the safeties today in his wide receiver jersey. So when he was a safety, he was number 4, and they wear like white and blue. And who wears what depends on the previous scrimmage. So the offense won the last scrimmage, so offense has been in blue. Gotcha. Watts, when he's wearing that offensive jersey, he's number 26. So today Watts was wearing his number 26 jersey, practicing with the safeties, which I looked at Patrick and I was like, this doesn't line up. But I mean, yeah, he's totally going back and forth. And I talked to DJ Brown the other day, and he was like, yeah, I mean, they're effectively just like moving him back and forth because he's so smart and knows the playbook so well that like if he misses a day with the wideouts, it's not going to have a large impact on his skills at safety and vice versa. So they really are shuffling him back and forth. They're keeping us on our toes in terms of what he's going to play come Columbus and beyond, but we'll see. But yeah, he was with the safeties today.
No, that's I love him at safety.
He likes safety better. So,
oh God, he flashed when he was on the field at the end of the year last year when they got him out there in some of those games. He's just explosive. He's physical. That guy loves to hit. But I hope he's on the field somewhere this year, so he just gets a ton of experience no matter what it is, and obviously has a big 2023. And Mike can best answer this, but the receivers, Greathouse, Flores, and Braylon James, are they all? I mean, I don't know. Are they early enrollees? Just top of your head. Which means if they are early enrollees, does Watts, does that give him the luxury to go back to safety and be a starter next year with Ramon Henderson? And then you got, if they move Barnes Riley full time to safety.
Yes. The answer is yes to your question.
Okay.
All three are enrolling early. So that's very nice.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that's awesome for next year's team because that means they got some good wide receivers in the spring.
So I want to go all the way back. I even removed myself from the stream. I'm like, I'm not going to be in here. So I'll just, let these two talk for a minute. To the Ben Morrison thing. Mm-hmm. Naomi, so these are his siblings. Naomi, and this was written last summer when he committed by me. So I don't know where they're at right now. But Naomi, at least as of last summer, was currently a gymnast for Michigan.
Wait, on that topic really quickly, she just won a national title in something. What? Tyler told me this today. Again, Joel, that came from Tyler. I don't know the details, but yes. Proceed.
Grace finished her 4th season. Again, this was last summer when I wrote this. Appalachian State volleyball team, and Faith was a gymnast for the Washington Huskies from 2014 to 2016. So Grace and Faith, obviously a very strong Christian family when you have those last names. The dad, Daryl Morrison, defensive back for the Washington, I don't know what you're allowed to call them these days, Generals, but okay. Played his college ball at Arizona, member of the Desert Swarm defense.
Yeah.
Held
great
number 1
defense.
Washington to 3 points in 92. Also has and now Daryl's a pastor at a big church in the Phoenix area. Brother Sam was a cornerback at Arizona State and then transferred to San Diego State. So yeah, pretty darn athletic family. I was in Phoenix last November, got to meet Daryl, his wife Joanne, I believe her name is, also works at that church that Daryl's a pastor of, and Ben was phenomenal. It's such a great family. I'm going to text Daryl. I'm going to text Daryl right now and say we were just talking about you on our live show, and
that's just real quick. I was going to say that Desert Swarm defense is back in back in my old heyday. That's one of the iconic defenses in college football history. They had some dudes. Rob Waldrop at nose, I think won the Lombardi or the Outland, one of those. Teddy Bruschi was their pass rusher. Chuck Cecil, who's coaching all over the place, All-American safety. I think he's in the College Football Hall of Fame, maybe. I don't quote me. He there, and obviously Morrison on that team. But they had some dudes. Dick Tomey had a heck of a football team way back when. But hey, Mike, on Morrison, wasn't Alabama recruiting him as well, correct? I loved Morrison's film.
Yeah, Bama, Auburn, Michigan. Washington was a huge contender in that recruitment. Grew up a Washington fan. Like I said, one of his siblings played a sport there. So yeah, Washington's one of those schools that's like a contender for DBU, at least in the past decade or so. Yeah, highly coveted. Loving them at safety and corner.
No, that's been some of the exciting news, just hearing about him. Obviously he's a summer enrollee, same thing as Tobias Merriweather, and the way he's come along, and Holden Stays. You got a couple of these summer guys have just kicked butt fast, which shows Eli Raridan as well, how athletic these guys are.
Yeah, that's a good segue. Well, Mike just popped a super chat up. 4B Huggins, if you have a question, you are welcome. Oh, tell us there we go. Okay. All right. New prediction. Okay. We'll go back to fall camp because I have a couple comments on the offense. But Mike, new prediction that you put in today.
I'll keep this quick as possible. Oh, wrong one. Where's this? There it is. Okay. So it's for Jeremiah Love. How about that? 4B Huggins, definitely appreciate the super chat. Top 100 recruit per the On3 consensus. 5'11", 190 pounds, freak show of a running back, and I'll pop on his tape as well. Someone who really just kind of blew up in recent months. I want to say in the spring started to really see his recruitment soar. I'm loving where Notre Dame's at, and we'll get Tim in a second to talk about his film before we get back into fall camp. But, I really like where Notre Dame's at. I think, and I covered this at blueandgold.com in a Lucky Charms article, $1 for 1 year. You can still get that deal. So make sure you head to the site. I think if he gets on campus September 10th, like he is discussing with his family, that could be it for Notre Dame. Like, I think they could land him after that. He's not wanting to stretch his recruitment much farther. You have Michigan and Texas A&M, a couple programs very much involved, but Notre Dame is just looking like they are leading the pack in this recruitment. So things can change. Someone commented earlier, he's a lock to Notre Dame in our YouTube chat. Yeah, that's not the case. But I do like Notre Dame to land him.
Awesome. I mean, that's huge news for, Coach Freeman, the staff and whatnot, because he's electric. I mean, come on. I mean, just replay the first play again. It's like, he is electric. I've compared him to Josh Adams just by his mannerism, his stance, the way he gets the ball, and people forget, Josh Adams hurt his knee, which, killed his recruiting and rankings and things of that nature. If Adams was healthy like this, he would have been a national recruit as well. But Love is a dude. He's a dude. You get a guy from St. Louis, you get him away from, the SEC, because just don't forget, Alabama was recruiting the heck out of him as well for a while until they got their go-to guys, shockingly. But he's a good football player. I mean, he's right up there in that tier. He's probably a step below maybe some of those guys, but he's good. He's electric. Another great athlete, which gives them flexibility with Jaden Lamar.
Yep.
So that's a huge plus for Notre Dame. And the running, Chris Tyree is going to be a senior next year. So that's another thing to remember as well.
That's crazy. Tyree's going to be a senior. It was the first recruiting class I covered for Blue and Gold was that 2020 cycle. So if Love does pick Notre Dame, they'll have 3 running back commits. Jaden Lamar, who is of that trio, is probably the most true running back, at least in the sense of how Notre Dame is going to use these guys. Dylan Edwards is the least true running back of the trio. That's not a slight at all. That's a huge positive. He's going to play everywhere, return game, slot receiver, put him out wide. If, a team's playing man and they're dumb enough to put a linebacker on him, Dylan Edwards is that scat back, total offensive weapon. And Jeremiah Love is whatever the hell they want to do with Jeremiah Love. Yeah. You want to put him at cornerback? Do you want to put him at running back? Do you want to put him in the slot? Do you want to play him as a center because Jared Patterson's hurt? You do whatever you want. I thought that would have got a smile out of Ashton Pollard, but no.
Oh, I got a good one. Hey, real quick on the running backs, Tyler Horka, Blue and Gold, has posted a few things about Jabril Payne.
Yep.
In the videos, I don't know if you've seen him much, Ashton. He looks unbelievable. He looks like the sophomore film.
That's a good segue into, I was going to comment on the running back room. Yeah. So when Jadarian Price went down, it was kind of like, all right, we have a depth problem, which, and you could still argue there are 4 of them healthy. Like if you, especially because you have Tyree, who is injury prone, you have Diggs who's coming back from an injury. Like I get that sentiment, but after watching fall camp, that I hesitate to say loaded, but kind of loaded. The running backs are so fun to watch. Yeah. Payne, Payne, I don't know his exact height and weight, but he's a smaller back. He's your Kyron Williams-esque back, but he is quick. He is probably going to play a lot on special teams, which does not apply, at least travel away, does not apply to all the running backs. He took over Price's return game, punt return, kind of role, I guess, in fall camp, which that's probably going to Brandon Joseph and Matt Salerno in terms of first people that are going to get it. But at the same time, they love Payne, and he's really shifty. He's really not small in a bad way, but small, shifty. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, they love Payne, and I think that Payne was underrated probably too because he had injury issues junior and senior year, and he committed to Indiana, which no disrespect to Indiana, but doesn't jump off the page at you, I guess. But Deland McCall is really, or Deland, I learned it's Deland apparently, is very, very high on him. So yeah, that running back room between Tyree, Diggs, who's apparently supposed to be back by Ohio State now, and he's wearing a contact jersey, which is the first step. And then, yeah, so Tyree, Payne, Diggs, and Estime, which Estime is just freaking hilarious. And if Estime starts at Ohio State, do not be surprised. I will throw that out there. That kid, oh my God, he is absurd. He is everything you need. It was funny. McCullough, I guess when we talked to him last week, basically, I don't know if it was like a slip of the tongue thing, but he was like, Esme is everything you want in a lead back. We were like, ooh, lead back. You said lead back. That's interesting. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But someone just put Payne has an injury history too. Yeah, so that was why he was out for a lot of his junior senior year. But
his sophomore film, Mike knows he was a top 100 recruit after a sophomore year. He was a freak after a sophomore
Bama, Florida, everybody. I do kind of have to hijack this conversation.
Go for it.
Because we just hit the hour mark. That's typically how long our shows go. Yeah. I put the Tyler Buckner as the thumbnail of the video. We haven't even mentioned his name, I think, yet. So
I can talk about it.
I think we have to say that this comment was about an hour ago. There seems to be mixed reviews of Buckner's accuracy this fall. What have you seen / heard over the course of fall camp? So Ashton, we'll throw that one to you, put you on the spot.
So in terms of hearing about it, you're not going to hear a lot on that top. I mean, if you ask about it, there's a dog barking in the hallway. It's very loud. You're not going to hear a lot about it. The coaches are going to talk him up, which they should. He's obviously relatively accurate. I don't know if I can comment on the herd part of it, but in terms of like seeing, there have surely been a couple of overthrows, but again, I mean, you're going to get that. Like everybody overthrows somebody at some point. I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on whatever ratio you need to determine he's accurate. But I mean, I think they're really high on him because of he just brings such like a versatile skill set. And even talking to the defense, like I've asked all of them about it. They're like, yeah, he just keeps us on our toes because we have no idea what he's going to do. And that was like part of the problem last year. No offense to Jack Cohn. He's great, but you kind of knew what Jack Cohn was going to do. There was never any question. He was going to be your NFL pocket passer. With Buckner, like you kind of have no idea, which is good for Notre Dame. But yeah, I mean, I think the accuracy, they're working on it. It's not something that I would be like overly concerned about, but that's what I've heard. Tim, I can throw it over to you if you have thoughts on any film that you've watched.
Well, you're sitting there just real quick talking about overthrows, and I know you're a big Brady Quinn fan. So I was at the 05 Fiesta Bowl against those mighty Buckeyes. First play of the game, Jeff Samardzij's wide open touchdown, game 7-0 to start the game. Brady Quinn overthrows him. So overthrows do happen. Yeah. They do happen. But I mean, Mike could also talk about this whole accuracy and throwing stuff with Buckner came from the Elite 11 back in the heyday where, after, he had the, committed and all that stuff with Notre Dame, he's going to the Elite 11. People forget he spent like 6+ months with the QB guru, changed all his mechanics. He goes to that Elite 11. He couldn't hit the side of a barn, as they say. He was horrible. And he got rid of it. He quit using all those mechanics. He was trying to do all this overthrow, hold the ball up high, tons and tons of work like that. So he got rid of a lot of that, and he went back to his old school throwing motion. So that's a little bit that was out there even way back when during all the reporting at that thing. So, but I know Mike was a part of all that, right?
Yeah, it was not. It was he had some wow moments at the Elite 11, like when he would roll out and hit a target. When he's just kind of a natural, rolling out throw for him on the run. That's what's like, oh, there's Tyler Buckner. But yeah, just dropping back, hitting a 15-yard out. It wasn't good. Was not. But also, I travel across the country from LA to Nashville, and he was like one of the last guys to throw on the night. So, give him a little bit of a pass there. But I'm not a quarterback coach. I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, but I do notice Tim, like he holds the ball down pretty low.
Yeah.
So that's an issue that's a little concern about, a defensive end coming off the edge and swiping it away. When I was at practice a couple weeks ago, and it's just 5 periods and they're thrown to a GA, but I just felt like when Buckner throws, like, he just doesn't throw as hard as the other quarterbacks. And maybe it's just a drill. It's practice number 10 of fall camp. I'm not, going to throw this rep like it's the last play of the Super Bowl or something. But to me, I was just like, I just feel like Angeli and Pine should throw the ball harder, just a little bit more zip on it. But, like Ashton said, you don't know what you're going to get if you're a defensive coordinator. Like, what the heck is Tyler Buchner going to bring? As Notre Dame fans and pundits, I'm kind of like, I'm in the same boat. Like, we don't know what Tyler Buchner is going to bring. I've been saying I would expect the unexpected in terms of, like, I think there's going to be some highs and there's going to be some lows, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And he's going to throw a pick six on this play and then break off an 80-yard touchdown run. I just think he's going back to what Ashton said about the Hurd thing. A little bit of my job to hear these things as the recruiting insider, but I still got sources and talked to some people about Buchner. Believe in him. Yeah, that the coaching staff's all in. And they believe that, he's got all the talent in the world. It's just kind of going to be a thing of, is he ready for 100,000 against Ohio State?
Well, according to Michael Mayer, who cares, right? It doesn't matter. But boy, he's going to hear it when he's walking out of the tunnel. I tell you that in warm-ups.
If you aren't familiar, and we'll wrap it up here, but if you aren't familiar, yesterday we talked to the tight ends, and Michael Mayer was asked.
Did you tweet it, Ashton? I'll pull it up.
Tyler did. Okay. Michael Mayer was asked about the crowd noise and like the atmosphere at the Horseshoe, and he basically said it's just another game. Which, to be fair, he kind of he was talking about how, like, when I'm on the field, I'm locked in. I try to block out the crowd noise. And I just don't hear anything. Like, that was, I think, where he was going.
Yes.
But the way that he said it was, I don't care about the Horseshoe, which I am very confident. I already know there was some Ohio State player. I didn't read the article, but I saw it.
Josh Perry, the linebacker, came out.
That had the response. I admittedly, I did not get to that today. I was at practice and doing a bunch of stuff, but
the response was respectful.
Okay. Do you know what it was? You can share it. Go ahead.
No, I saw it just real quick, and he just said, hey, I see what he's saying, but he's like, you got to get your mind right. He's talking about the loudest places he ever went to is Penn State, and he was like, it's rocking. It does affect you, but
yeah.
Ashton,
I mean, I get where Mayer was going. It was like,
is this the
what
quote?
are you going to say? Like, oh yeah, I'm going to be terrible because it's loud. Like, no, you're not going to say that. So
that's Mayer's quote right there.
Right. Yeah. And there you go. So I'll read it for a podcast audience. I don't think it's any different than the other stadiums we're going to be playing in this year. To me, it's just like home game, away game, just go play football. I'm not worried about it. Which, again, I get his sentiment of like, you're not going to say, yeah, I'm really worried about it. We're not going to play well because it's loud. Of course, you're not going to say it. So I understand what he was saying, but of course, media and stuff, people are going to take that out of context. And as he was saying it, I was kind of like, ooh.
Speaking of taking things out of context, did I say that Pine has a stronger arm than Buchner? I didn't say that. I said that practice, he was throwing the ball harder than Tyler Buchner was.
I get what you're saying. There are knocks on the way that Buchner throws. I can say, and Michael put this up in a comment, Buchner's mechanics are fine. Some of the greatest quarterbacks have awkward throwing motions, Phillip Rivers and so on. Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, look at Mahomes. He sidearms throws, and you're like, oh my God, that was incredible. And that's
that too. It's awesome.
But yeah. Anyways, all right, we will wrap this up.
No, we're just gonna go another hour.
Ron Tuxa sounds kind of like Ashton's a Buckeye.
What?
I mean, have you ever? Well, you haven't met me, I don't think. What? Incorrect. But I just like to be realistic because then you set yourself up to not be disappointed. You can be pleasantly surprised if something does happen.
Ashton, go ahead and cut yourself. You will bleed blue and gold. We know it. So.
I will. All right. We are done here. We will be back. Like I said, this was the last practice that we had access to, but next week is game week, which is kind of cool. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Make sure that before you hop off, you hit subscribe, hit the thumbs up. If you're listening back via podcast, leave us a review and check out everything on blueandgold.com. It's still just $1 for a year and you get all of this, all the recruiting, all the other sports we write about, which is a bunch of them. So yeah, make sure you look that up, subscribe, and we appreciate all of you. We'll be back.